Wanted to report that over the past 2 nights, I had not been able to sleep very well. And last night in particular, or this whole week, had been pretty futile in terms of getting any work done, staying focused. And what I did discover on Friday was, a major antenna. And it's about 200 meters away from the apartment I'm in. I'm down in the basement now, and it's actually built so that it is a bunker. So I'm not below ground, but this space, which is being used for storage, is it has these enormous doors, orange doors, to it's basically for a nuclear fallout. This would be where to come, and I'm just sitting among all of the neighbors and stuff, empty boxes, empty luggage, empty luggage, and other various bags of clothes that I've been meaning to make a donation with. Anyway, my partner and I had a good talk over dinner, and he says I've gone too far. He says that I've been too long left on my own, not socializing, not doing anything, meeting with anybody. And so he has a different standard from what I have been engaging with on the online community that we have all built together. I should say the date. It's the 9th day of the 11th month, 2018. And I came downstairs mainly because the ELF, the extremely low frequencies, have just been slicing through my whole body. And I actually feel like, like someone's been using my mid-back, mainly my kidney. I can identify where my kidneys are, where my liver is. And it just feels like someone's been punching on it. So I feel the important thing to realize about the combination of the two types of extremely low frequencies and the high frequencies, one is to penetrate the cell, the cellular wall, and the high frequencies, very similar to X-rays, are to mutate the cells. So, I didn't realize this until I was putting together that video this week, and this is very curious, but a few weeks ago I actually woke up to the realization that there are still a lot of people who don't realize the value behind Tony Pantelleresco, Brian 396, and Susan Marr's work and efforts, and where is it coming from. Now, I have been disabled technically, so I need to figure out how to, clear out, I don't want to say update my system, that's not what I want to do, but I need to clear out cookies and move all my stuff and isolate it from my partner's project. So mainly on the weekends, And with his free time, he will work on his project, which is a lot of value all by itself. But what I've realized is I need to focus on finishing part 3, because that's going to connect not only the nervous system of nanotechnology to those delivery systems that are activating and aggravating and streamlining the nano or the synthetic cells, the nanobiology that everybody is saturated with. But it's also to connect it to the source of where this nano is coming from, and that is the contaminated food supply that dates back to 1958, when synthetic additives had been introduced into the U.S. Food supply. And this is, of course, after the education was going through changes as well. Let's see. I did want to share about this space that I happen to be in down in the bunker. It has very thick walls, and I'm next to, thankfully, the little storage container, or the storage space happens to be next to the exit way. So if the apartment building were to go down, I would actually be able to get out through, everybody would get out through the storage cage that is down here in the basement. Let's see. The bad thing is that there are 3 LED lights in here, or compact fluorescents in here, so I will need to figure out how to change them. I'm pretty sure I could fit my hand through the wooden slates and then change, but the one next to me, it's a little further in the middle of the room. So this one part that I've also recognized is tinnitus. Tinnitus is actually the high frequencies. I used to think of it as the sound of silence, and I do recall hearing it back in Los Angeles when I'd go to bed at night. And so the tinnitus, the high frequencies, is what's causing the cell mutation. So if one happens to have tinnitus, it's just the medical industry or the medical complex's way of saying ringing in the ears, but the ringing in the ears is actually the perceived high frequencies that are being picked up, that are being perceived within the head. So the nanomaterial that is accumulated in our head is actually being triggered, right? So that is very concerning. The interesting thing about this weekend, this is actually Friday night. Last night was so difficult to go to bed. I have absolutely no shielding, with the exception of the mirror that was on the bedroom wall. So I took that off the wall on, I think it was on Wednesday night, because I realized the correlation between where the antenna is bouncing off of the wall and then at an equal angle being deflected in another direction, in an opposite direction, which may have been out the window, right? So that's very concerning. So I ended up taking the mirror off the wall, which is basically on the wall opposite of the foot of the bed. And I put the mirror so it would face the head of the wall where the head of the bed is. And there was a little bit of relief. That was Wednesday. And what I decided on Thursday night was to try to find a better space because of the angle of the bed being perpendicular to the wall. Maybe half of my head was being protected by the funny angle of the mirror, but the rest of my body was being severely impacted. Now, last night, what I had determined was I just laid in bed, didn't change anything around, no mirror at the head of the bed. And this was kind of early. So basically what I did was I just laid in bed, like I was going to go to bed. And then I felt like the center of my head, where would be my pineal gland, was being aggravated. And then I also had what felt like indigestion right where my heart is. And so I could also determine where the ELFs were hitting, these long waves. It just took so long to pass through the whole body that I could identify how far along the wave I was. It hit my head, and I have what took 6 months to repair all the soft tissue damage with my life water treatment had returned in a day, in 2 days. So now my Morton aroma at the bottom of my right foot has returned. I'm having problems walking because a Morton aroma is basically an inflamed nerve. And I don't walk a lot. I do my thing at the computer and put things together. So why would an old injury come back? There's no explanation for it except being subjected to the penetration of the radiation with the ELF, and then also with the cell damage, could I say it's cell damage? It's cellular damage. The high frequency then is again about mutating cells. So there is a harmful frequency that is making injuries return. The second major injury that I have is connected to a herniated disc in 2 spots. It's the T3, T4, T5, where I was in a car crash, and I was in the back seat, and I was had a whiplash with torque. So that was where I was thrown. I was sitting on the passenger side of the back seat, and then I was thrown to the back of the driver's seat, facing out to the passenger side exit door. Let's see, from the back seat. And we were basically hit by a big truck. So that's where hitting on the brakes made everything exacerbate inflection. And then, thankfully for my brother's fast thinking, he turned off the highway, and we went into a ditch. So that's where I had been thrown to the back of the seat, and then it was hitting into the ditch that I had actually had that torque thrown into the flexion, or the whiplash. So this thing that's in the middle of my shoulder blades has returned. And again, it took less than 24 hours for it to return with these increased frequencies here. Another noticeable aspect that I have found is my thyroid gland. It felt like scratchy, like something was picking at it. I don't know really how to explain it, but I feel like I have a sore throat coming on. But I do realize radiation just depletes the iodine levels. So, and what is very unfortunate is a few days before I had run out of iodine, and I really should have gone to the store to pick up some more, or the pharmacy. Today I did go to the pharmacy, made a whole bunch of rounds because I just wanted to see the community. How did they look after last night? And I was asking for potassium iodine as well as iodine crystals. And what they told me at the pharmacy is that they don't carry that. Just like they don't carry borax, and they don't have TSP. So I'm at a loss and having only to use the nascent iodine. And that explains why I have to use so much of the iodine. I've just been down here for about 20 minutes setting up the chair, and I do not feel the waves, the wavelengths. I am picking up the higher frequencies, but that's because of the light bulbs in here. So there is mercury that I am being exposed to down here, and I will make arrangements to get that, get these light bulbs changed. Let's see. So Sunday is actually 11/11, and like very briefly, what I'd heard about 11/11 is that Trump is supposed to have a meeting on that day, and I can't remember exactly who. This frequency bombardment has, it's kind of like a memory wipe, and every time I'm in a very close proximity to the antennas, I struggle to not only formulate my sentences and concepts that I'd like to share, it affects my body. So I feel like this general overall weakness, body weakness, as if I had a fever, and I really should be resting. Now, these are important things to be aware of. With this video, I will see about what I can find in the way to illustrate what are some remedies. Now, one thing I did come up with, aside from the mirror, that did help me, because last night I could actually hear the frequencies being turned up like it was on a dial, and I heard the dial moving, notch by notch by notch by notch, and then I felt my blood pressure building up. I felt my skin was turning hot, even though I was behind the mirror. And I don't know how long it lasted. It seemed to take forever, and I was prepared at that point. Okay, if this is how I'm going to die, fine. I'm going to die like this. And all of these sounds were coming up. The sensations, the bodily sensations of the frequencies passing through. Because where I was not in the bedroom last night. I was actually in the dining area, and I positioned the only big mirror in such a position to block where the radiation from the antenna. And when my legs veered off to the side, I could feel the wave passing. And the sensation that came with that, it felt like a worm, like a worm was wiggling or moving. And it wasn't in just one place. And then there were like electrical, or it was like a tap. There was a lot of tapping on my head. And I did have my copper-lined hat over my head. So my head was facing the direction of the antenna, and the mirror was pointing out. The shiny part of the mirror was facing the antenna, and I was on the back side of that mirror. And that enabled me, or that reduced the full-on blast of the radiation that came out. It seemed to be like a data transmission. I don't know how long it lasted. I just sort of lost track of time, and I didn't bother to get up to see what time it was. In terms of what I saw when I was walking through the village today, let's see. A lot of the older people, they just look like they didn't have a good night's sleep. It's kind of like when I get on the train, I know who the Swiss are. They're the ones where their lower eyelids are like hanging off their eyeball. And a lot of men, women, they're not as strong. They may be Swiss, but they're not as strong as the workforce, right? Those who are still working. I mean, even my partner says he can't understand, or he can't comprehend why I'm behaving the way I am, and there's no reason for how I'm behaving. And he has no problem with the Wi-Fi, and I try to tell him, well, I'm having a problem with the Wi-Fi. And without him saying anything, it was like, so what? So I have to find a way to protect myself. And being down here in the cellar has reduced the frequencies. And again, of course, I do need to make arrangements to have the compact fluorescence changed. Let's see. Yeah, so what I'm going to do down here, I'm going to work on grounding my shoes. What I will say, as I was trying to get to sleep, last night was really not a restful night. The frequencies, I was ready to die. It just made me feel like that. Like I was, basically that I was on fire, and all my cells were being fried. That's what it felt like. So before I had I'd come up with this idea about the CD-ROMs or CDs, music CDs. It actually came because of putting that video together. The video about, let's see, the C60, it's C60 applications, or the nanotech applications. And it was how, let's see, the reason why the CD is used is because it's a perfect surface that's been created by a laser. So anything that is created with the laser, it's actually a better quality reflector than actual mirrors. So my idea was to create like a panel of fish scales, or it could be like a fish scale design that would be used as a shield. And it's really to perhaps make it several layers, because I do realize there's a hole and the circle makes it very irregular to cover a surface, right? And then I thought that would be a great idea. But I don't have any CDs, and I was looking at my partner's collection, and he said, well, why don't you get some pieces of wood and then you could make a frame for it, and this is how it should look. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that. Maybe I'll just go to the thrift shop and buy all the old music and video games and DVDs. Make something with that, and that would actually be an excellent remedy, possibly better than the mirror. I'd certainly be able to make a bigger size than what the mirror was covering. I mean, thankfully, I'm not a big body. I got a big heart, but I need more coverage than what the mirror had provided. So that's one remedy to look into if one has a music collection that one is willing to part with. Let's see. And it would actually be to make the whole wall. I would line it with aluminum foil and ground that with a copper wire as far a distance off the property or to the farthest end of the property as possible. And then do a design work of layering the CDs, so the side with the data is facing facing the antenna. Right, so that was one thing. To address what I was feeling, it finally happened today, where second day in to the turning up of the frequencies, and realizing the liver is so vulnerable. And when the back right side feels like it's been punched and it's just bruised, and the pain returns in waves, long waves. I think it's coming like every 6 minutes or so. I would be getting this sensation of the wave passing through, working its way through the liver. What I did was I took a piece of aluminum foil, and I basically wrapped it around my back, put it under my shirt, and held it in place with my bra. For women, it's really important to not wear underwire bra. I got rid of all my underwire bras a couple of years ago, and what the underwire bras do is they actually hold Well, first they prevent the lymph node drainage out from the armpits, right? Because the breast actually begins at the underarm, and so when the mammary glands are being pushed forward out from the armpit to the front of the body, front of the torso, drainage stops, but also the metal and being subjected to ELF and high frequencies, it's definitely what helps breast cancer come along. The radiation seems to find themselves with this metal, the underwire. So that's one thing to keep in mind. And so I had just one layer of the aluminum foil wrapped around me, and that helped tremendously. Of course, let's see. It's a remedy that slows it down, but because I'm moving around a lot, like ironing the clothes, the radiation is coming, it's right on me, and it's important to shield the wall outside and inside and to deflect it so it doesn't even enter the living space. So I'm having a real tough time with that, and my partner. So he likes Wi-Fi, and makes it very convenient for him to be on his work phone and get messages as soon as possible. And that is a trade-off. That's a trade-off that I'm not willing to risk my health to be able to share the space with my partner. So that is what I'm having to deal with. Let's see. For my trip around the village, what I was basically doing was I had mail to mail at the post office, and then I was going to visit the AMPT. Now let's see, I did visit the AMPT. It's like the village city hall, the village hall where government is seated. But back to the post office, there is a tower, an antenna at the train station, which is right across the street. And it's for communication purposes. The Swiss Rail receives rent payment for this giant antenna. And then another, I'd say it's about maybe 35, 40 meters away is a second tower that's above an apartment building. The first floor is a bank. And so what I have seen is that those who are coming out of the shopping area to pass by this bank, and then they're another 30 meters away from the train station, people are being double irradiated right when they come out of the shopping center. And my body has been able to pick up the source of where this, I'm like hit by overall body weakness. And I can see how the elderly Swiss are just hobbling along. They look absolutely devastated by the radiation. And it causes a lot of people not to communicate with each other. It inhibits a lot of people. One thing I have noticed is that with the Swiss, no matter how bad things get, it's necessary to always show your happy side. Don't show that you're not doing well or how things really are. So it's a rough life here, and there is the other thing is the elderly are left on their own to look after themselves, and those who are in the work world are just about, they have just enough time for themselves because it is such a brutal work week. So that was when I had made my way and just identifying where the antennas are. I wanted to put together a sort of a public an announcement as a resource to help identify these different health issues. So I've got to work on that. And then I can pin that to the community board at the shopping center. And I stopped by the pharmacy. That's when I checked in about potassium iodine and iodine crystals, because I would like to make my own Lugol's iodine formula. I did some recycling, put my things away for recycling, and then I came back out, and then I made my way over to the village hall, and had a chance to speak to, someone at I want to call it a building inspector, and it was actually just the secretary, and it was just before lunch. The bad thing is I had to go up 2 flights of stairs, and this morning I was really bad. I did my recycling, and I left without getting any breakfast in. So by that time, I had not eaten anything, and it was such a punishing morning. That's one thing I do realize is radiation sort of stops appetite. I had no appetite at all. So I realized that, and I was like, oh my gosh, it's lunchtime. And the good thing about the different offices here is they close for lunchtime from 11:30 until 1. So I just sort of got in just in time. So as I was explaining what I was experiencing, I explained that I live in the village here, and my husband is Swiss, and last night there was frequencies that were turned up so high, and I just realized there's an antenna that's like 200 meters away from my apartment. Is there some kind of remedy in terms of either reducing it or offer shielding for those who are experiencing some health issues? And what I was told is that I'm just one complaint, and that's not enough to make a change in a village with about 11,000 inhabitants. So what I will do is I'm going to document everything, write letters, and even though I'm not Swiss, my partner pays taxes here, and he might not be affected, but from what I can see in the community, a lot of elderly Swiss are being affected, and to compromise their health. The bad thing about realizing this is that all the remedies to the Swiss have been taken away. One cannot sue their doctor for medical malpractice. One cannot form a labor union if work conditions are unbearable. And these are two issues that I'm realizing. Yes, the Swiss are sovereign. However, all the remedies to enforce their health and well-being and damage and death have been taken away from them. And I explained to the building inspector clerk that I don't have a cell phone. I don't have a contract to be damaged like this. And what she said, this is a big problem, and there's nothing we can do about this. When more people speak up about it, then we can look at bringing this forward. So I asked her, do I have to come down with cancer before anything happens? And this is where she said, this is a very difficult situation. So I basically have to inform the community, which is what I should have been doing from the beginning, right? Not just working on the online community. And this is actually where my partner said, it's really necessary to work with the people who are here. You've been here for 5 years, and this is all you've done. You've just sit on the computer and do nothing. So I'm trying. I'm really trying to figure out how to shield myself. The cellar looks like the best place. I'm not feeling any frequencies, especially the ELF frequencies, the extremely low frequencies, but I do hear tinnitus. So the high frequencies, that's what's causing the cell mutations, and being under the compact fluorescence is a problem. I should probably have another yogurt with a whole bunch of iodine in there. And what I have plans to do is I'm going to work down here. I'm working on getting my shoes so that they're grounded. That's actually one of the remedies that I've had. So I had a soup, I think it was last weekend, that was just sitting in the pot. It's cold enough at night to leave the pot of soup outside, vegetable soup. And I had that for lunch. So I basically added my life water to that and heated it up in a copper pot. And so this is the only reason why I've been able to stand upright. I forced myself to eat, even though I didn't have an appetite. And I'm very grateful for the copper pot. What I will do is I'm going to have a demonstration because copper is so critical. It really goes back to Alex Collier being told by Visayas that copper is going to be what helps people get through. It helps ground the body electric. And so I can live off of the vegetable soups as long as it's got my life water and my copper, cooked in my copper pot. And I do feel like I've been revived somewhat. I mean, just that I can have some clarity. I was very frustrated the other day when I couldn't work on the computer. Not because I didn't have computer or internet access. It's just my cognitive side was not functioning. I was severely disabled by the frequencies, by the radiation, basically. So, increase copper intake, and that will help ground the body electric. Now, the second part that I'm going to do is I've actually got copper that I'm going to put inside of my shoe, and I sort of did a little bit of a demonstration on one of my videos. I think it was the women's remedy episode. I have to take a look, but basically I'm going to have copper placed into my shoe, and I'm going to run a copper wire in several places so that I can actually be in contact with the ground and discharge electrical buildup. And I believe that's a big part of why all shoes, even leather shoes, have a rubber sole, because the rubber sole is preventing grounding. So I will work on that tonight. And the other thing is I'm actually going to make myself a vest. All I've really got is these Kupfer kitchen dish scrubbers. But I'm going to make a vest out of that so I can block frequencies. The aluminum is very helpful, but the copper has been very helpful in my hat. So I did get myself a winter hat. That was the funny thing. I went out with my straw hat all lined with copper, and people are like looking at me like I'm so out of place. and then I did find a black wool hat which looks more seasonally acceptable. So I picked up one of those. The thing is, when I put my copper into the hat fit me perfectly, but that I tried it on without my copper in, and so when I inserted the copper into the hat, it didn't fit. So I was thinking, oh, okay, I think I need to split the back end and the band so that my head can fit and I can put in my copper for more coverage, because it comes low enough to where it can actually cover my pineal gland. So I'm just going to be a hat. I'll be the hatter. Not the Mad Hatter, but the Smolov True Hatter. And I think what I may do is also try with the aluminum foil, because the aluminum foil, that would be the reason why for the tinfoil hatters, right? The tinfoil hat crew, the preppers, they're really onto what needs to be taken care of. So I realize this has been going on for a while, but I hope this finds people well. It's important to shield from the frequencies, identify where the frequencies are, if it's at all possible to move, do so. Otherwise, look into shielding the exterior wall, the interior wall, and the ceiling especially, because what I'm realizing is this is a long game. And Cliff High actually mentioned about radiation levels increasing so drastically, and that goes back to 2016. Now, the only reason why to follow Cliff High is because of his predictive linguistics software. And he has been targeted and prevented from he's lost a lot of contracts because of what he does. He's not, I'd say, he's not Freemason approved. He's actually one of the common men, just like everybody who listens to this Smo Love True channel. And I did follow him for a while regarding cryptocurrencies. What he was picking up was that things are going to go towards crypto. Now, first generation crypto is something to be aware of, that is created by the CIA. And I would guess, my best guess is that the second generation cryptocurrencies that are substance back, like Sandcoin, that would be this second generation would be worth looking into if one had the inclination for that. And again, with the Fukushima, this is something that actually happened on my birthday while I was out at dinner. It was like March 10th, 2011. So I just arrived on the Hawaiian Islands and had a family get-together and heard about Fukushima, and there was possibly a tsunami because I was out in Waikiki, or in Honolulu, and everybody had to go to higher ground later that night. Of course, I ended up, at that time I was living in Aiea, just up the hill from Pearl Harbor. So I was at that location pretty safe. Anyway, the radiation reports that were coming out or being reported by Cliff High's predictive linguistic software was that there was massive amounts of radiation. And his reporting this back in 2016, it's important to realize that the infrastructure for the wireless communication network was in full throttle at that point. So what's amazing about Cliff High's predictive linguistic software is that it picks up the reptilian intelligence that is running the internet, and that's the reason why to listen to any of Cliff's reports, or whenever he has an interview. The latest that I had picked up is that he is working on 2 patents, and this is where I come in with there is a long game being put in place here. And Cliff High, having pivoted from cryptocurrencies, not really explaining why, it's sometimes what is not said is worth taking notice of. And that Cliff is working on patents means 20 years of capitalizing on an invention. And yeah, it is a long game that we're all in. If one can survive the radiation, it's like find a safe place. And I've been down here now for almost an hour, and I'm not getting any of the symptoms that I had while I was upstairs. Anything above the 2nd floor is a problem, and especially outside of the walls, outside of this bunker, this Swiss bunker, basically. Got to clear up the space a bit. Maybe I could, aside from changing the light bulbs, clear off all this crap and make this my space. Yeah. So increase copper, increase iodine. If it's possible, get into Lugol's iodine. And that will, the more concentrated levels is significant. And because of the radiation, what iodine actually does is it does repair DNA. So that's important to shield and start restoring at a mitochondrial level, right? So I did put together 2 videos. That was actually a comment in response to the C60 applications, that a comment that Tony had left in the comment section. I put AC there, AC C60 applications. And so that's the video where one can see Tony's comment, and the part 1, part 2 videos that I had last uploaded to the channel were trying to illustrate. We're trying to illustrate what Tony had mentioned, and because I was having a lot of problems cognitively and technically, I just uploaded it raw like that. And I was able to, because I did have my 2 bowls of Life Waters vegetable soup in a copper pot, I've really been able to restore my health. It turns around so quickly. Let's see, so I will continue with my vegetable soups and get to work on part 3, which is basically the connection between the nervous system of nanotechnology and I want to say contraindications, or trying not to aggravate the nanotechnology by putting in an external electrical force. It's important to realize that something that's plugged into the wall coming through, it's possible to get Lily wave programming, and the Rothschilds basically owns the electrical grid on a global basis. So that is why it's important to not use a device on one's body that has to be plugged in, or even battery source. Okay, who knows what kind of power or setting has been set in these things. And then to connect that to the food supply, because glyphosates is a big part of the problem, and all this synthetic additives came into the food supply in 1958. Okay, so I'm going to get to work making my vest and working on my shoes, and I'll get this video uploaded probably on Monday. So take care, be safe, and work on shielding, okay? And more importantly, identify where the antennas are. Write letters, visit. What can be done? Put everything in writing and send it to everybody who could possibly have an interest. And just try to take care of your family. Everybody, we don't need to be living with migraines or to be suffering like this. This will continue. I can imagine through the weekend. 11/11 is Amnesty Day, and this goes back to a 100-year celebration. Catherine Horton had mentioned it, and I just had a brief listen to it. But it's worth connecting all the dots, and all this suffering doesn't have to happen. Okay, so Smo Love True out. Take care, build your community. Dots, and all this suffering doesn't have to happen. Okay, so Smo Love True out. Take care. Build your community.
To see further. Inner space, yet another frontier. We have the technology to see further than ever inside the human body, revealing elements never before defined in medicine. Nanobacteria is one such microorganism, only recently discovered, thanks to modern technology and the medical expertise of today. Modern medicine has enabled us to uncover this pathogen deep inside the human body and within other areas of the medical field. In the next few minutes, we'll discover what nanobacteria are, how they form, and what impact they have on our health and the delivery of health care. Nanobacteria were discovered in 1988 by Dr. Olavi Kayander during his study of mammalian cell cultures. In 1991, Dr. Nevishev Shola joined his research and discovered calcification properties of nanobacteria. Today, both lead Nanovac as the key researchers in this exciting discovery. Nanobacteria can be found in many parts of the human body: the arteries, the veins, and almost certainly in any part of the body that blood flows. It is the smallest self-replicating life form, smaller than lymphocytes, red blood cells, E. coli, yet larger than most viruses. Nanobacteria starts by adhering to a cell surface. Over time, they begin to excrete a slimy biofilm, which accumulates calcium and phosphorus from the bloodstream. This biofilm also triggers the inflammatory cascade, like macrophages, immunoglobulins, and lymphocytes, as they try to wall off the site of infection. Nanobacteria eventually create a hard calcified shell, which protects them from the immune response and supplies them a safe shelter for multiplication. When the calcium shell dissolves, it releases all of the small, less calcified nanobacteria into the bloodstream, where the process can repeat again and again. Nanobacteria divide via binary fission, where one parent cell divides into two identical daughter cells. Budding can also occur where one parent cell can form another nanobacterium. This multiple disbursement capability releases juvenile nanobacteria in the bloodstream, where they travel to sites prone to calcification and start the process all over again. Common areas where they may be found are calcified heart vessels and heart valves, kidney stones, dental pulp stones, gallstones, calcific tendinitis, and even cancers with calcium, which can include prostate, breast, thyroid, and ovarian cancer. At Nanovac, we are researching the most effective solutions to detect and fight this unique pathogen in the body. But the nanobacteria impact reaches beyond the body and into biomedical applications. Calcium has been discovered on stents and replacement joints, which explain why these items need to be replaced over time due to calcium buildup that may be caused by nanobacteria. Additionally, we have discovered nanobacteria contamination in bioindustrial applications. Since the sterile filtration process alone cannot eradicate nanobacteria, and some biomedical products are prepared in cell cultures contaminated with nanobacteria, using standard bioindustrial quality control measures may not eradicate this pathogen. In fact, nanobacteria was first discovered in poorly thriving cell cultures. Dr. Kayander explored the reason for the cell death. He discovered that nanobacteria had contaminated the fetal bovine serum of these cultures. Nanobacteria has become the focus of his career since that breakthrough discovery. At Nanovac, our sole focus is to uncover the reasons nanobacteria infect the body, how they're introduced into the body, and how we can most effectively prevent, diagnose, and treat this insidious pathogen. The research we're pioneering at Nanovac may lead to a revolutionary paradigm shift in the healthcare industry as nanobacteria relates to the treatment and management of calcification-related diseases. Nanovac, discovering the next revolution in healthcare.